Hi, everybody, and welcome to Grow to Scale Your Business. Today, we're doing another chapter in Consulting Chronicles, Laughs and Lessons. And with us, we have Samira Singh, who is a business strategist out of UK. I've told you we're going to international. We're going to go international. Consulting is everywhere and everybody needs it. So welcome, Samira. Thank you for joining us. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do. And let's jump into this episode because it's going to be fun.
Hi, Marina. It's my absolute pleasure to be here with you in your fabulous podcast and in front of your amazing audience. I'm Sam. I am a business strategist and a business coach based in the UK in London. And I help women entrepreneurs, women business owners scale their business to six figures with providing them with bespoke business strategies.
This is amazing. So you're focusing specifically on women. If a man comes to you, you won't service them?
And usually I work only with women. I have some clients which are men, but I only take them on a very exceptional level because I also, along with my business consulting and business strategy work, I also do a lot of mindset work specifically for women. That's what I'm trained in. So I mostly, one of my missions in the world is to create as many women six-figure business owners, whether they are service providers like consultants or product business owners as possible.
That's interesting. So what is the difference between the mindset of a woman and a mindset of a man? What is so special about the work
The
you're doing?
biggest mindset is this of that women always, as consultants or business owners, they always undercharge themselves. They always they will always say that, I'm going to charge this much less, and the reasons behind that are quite specific. A lot of time it is cultural. Also, a lot of time it is what's in the society. So, for example, like any consultant who works in finance industry would know that we have such a big gender pay gap for men and women who do the same work. Women will often get paid less. So it is almost ingrained in our brain that we would be getting paid less for what we are working. Also, it's a thing that usually a woman who asks for her worth, sometimes we are told both in society and in media and in entertainment that it's not good for women to talk about money. When we look at films or TV, how many times is it that the rich woman is the bad one and the good one is the one who is not charging money? So there are a lot of complex reasons on why women don't charge their worth. And I, along with my very strategic analytical business strategy work, I also put in the mindset work to help them break that glass ceiling.
That's fascinating. What made you decide to choose that direction specifically?
My own experience. So I have been consulting since 2009. I have worked in big fours, I've worked in banks, and I realized I used to see my own self. I would never ever negotiate for salary. When my promotion time came, I was just happy that I was given the next level. I never negotiated or asked for what I want. And I would often see that men in my team who were doing less than what I was doing, they were getting promoted faster. Or within 5 years, they were at much higher salary level than what I was. And then when I became slightly senior and I started managing a team and I had women reporting into me, and I would see that how when I was doing the performance appraisal, a man will be like, I have met all my 5 out of 5 objectives. I've exceeded them, even though they may not have, and usually they wouldn't. And I deserve so much of raise. And women will be like, yeah, I think I have done most of them, or maybe some of them, and I'll be just happy not to be fired. So all these things make me really reanalyze why we as women often don't charge our worth. And then also in the UK, we have this thing called gender pay report, which is something which the government publishes every year, which compares the difference between what men are getting paid and what women are getting paid doing the same work. And you would see that how women are getting paid so much less compared to men, even though they are doing the same work, or they may actually be doing a better job than their colleagues at same male colleagues at same level.
So how do you look at being in UK and somebody reaching out to you to work in another country? How is there a cultural difference? Is there things that you would do or wouldn't do in the beginning of that relationship in order to build it up, in order to learn the market, in order to, because how does the different geography affects the cultural differences, and how does it affect the type of work you will deliver?
I think it is, now the world is so global. To a great extent, when you're working with people, there is a uniformity. Having said that, diversity is a strength of a business, and we all have diverse models. Because I have worked in a corporate career where I have worked with people from more than 80 countries, I'm quite well versed with dealing with more cultural and geographical nuances. I think the starting point always is to find a common ground, and trying to find what is the common point of commonality between you all, and start on that basis. The second thing is also trying to put yourself in their shoes, and trying to understand from where they are coming from. It's like no one is trying to be in a such specific way just because they want to. There's always a reason behind it. And the third is always to have very clear boundaries. So I do work with some clients in some countries where the expectation is that perhaps we would be on call for 24 hours, 7 days a week. But it is work. It is being very clear from beginning that what your boundaries are. And if those people are not ready to accept your boundaries, and they are not your ideal clients, they are not the right people for you to work with. It You need to be very clear about what your boundaries are and clearly communicate them. And similarly, you need to respect the boundaries which are set up by your clients, and also respect them. It's reaching that common ground.
So once you establish those boundaries, how do you approach the work itself? Because the audience in that, and it depends on the type of business, right? If it's brick and mortar, it's very different versus online where you sell just
Yeah.
e-commerce, and the audience is very versatile. But brick and mortar, how important it is to take a step back and try to understand the culture and the cultural differences between what you're used to work with and what you are expected to work with before you actually jump in. What is the process that you take when you're doing it?
Again, it is like, for example, if I take a brick and mortar business, my first point of contact would be to understand from them exactly what are they expecting from a consultant, and exactly what support they need in a strategy. The way we were talking about earlier, that you were working once with someone who expected you to go and make sales on their behalf. That's not a part of our job. So it's just about being very clear from beginning about what they are, what you can offer versus what exactly they need. A brick and mortar business may not necessarily need an international business strategist like me. They may actually need a business strategist who's well versed in that, because a brick and mortar business would be operating in a very local area, which would require very local specific knowledge. So it is also being really honest about the fact that whether you can actually provide them with that expertise or not. Having said that, if you have a brick and mortar business which wants to expand globally, or wants to expand in another country, or want to expand online, then perhaps a business strategist like me would be better placed to help them, because I can do that. But if there's a brick and mortar business in Taiwan who's operating in 5 localities and they want to find more clients there, I can give them the generic business strategies which they would need for that. but I would not be able to provide them with expert guidance on what exactly people in those communities need. And I would honestly tell them that they need to probably work with a more local business strategist who has more presence in that community. As we all know, like when you are trying to strategize for a product based business versus a service based business, it is very, very, very different. You have things like local issues like local communities, local logistics, often local laws and regulations impacting products, which are not necessarily impacting a service-based business. So you need to be very clear whether you actually have expertise for a local product-based business like that to help them in regard to what they need help with, versus it's something you need to refer to them to someone else.
So to end this with a dessert, the dessert would be another funny story that
Yes.
because we were talking about a couple of funny stories, so we had one. What else happened in your consulting career that either at that moment it was funny or it was extremely frustrating to you at that specific moment when you were working with that company, but later on when you're said and done, you're sitting there like, oh my God, like how could they do that? Or how funny it is. So do you
I
have
think one of the funniest thing was this. I was working with a retailer who wanted to, they were solo business owners, and they were product based business, and they wanted to expand into online space. And they did say that as a part of that, um, uh, our, our strategy meetings, I could travel where they were based. And I was very excited. I thought that is amazing. And I made my first 3 travels, and then I used to bill them on a quarterly basis. And then I sent my bill, and just like any other consultant, especially from my corporate career, I very promptly included my travel receipt into the bill. And they very promptly, as soon as I sent it, their accountant come receptionist called me, and she's like, why have you included that? I'm like, because I traveled for the meeting. And she was like, but that was never part of the deal. We never pay people for the travel. So I was like, how is it even possible that you have asked someone to come there and you don't pay them for travel? She's like, no, we don't. And then I very promptly went and quickly looked at the fine print, which I had avoided to look. And I was like, yeah, they say that they don't pay for travel. And I was like, oh my God, how did I not see that? And of course, like I came out of that contract as soon as I could. And the lesson learned is this, that often, especially when you are coming from a corporate business consulting to a personal, you kind of assume that the things which happen in a corporate world would automatically happen when you're working on your own, but they are not often. And things which you take for granted, often you have to ensure like things like expenses, logistics, working conditions. You have to include them, uh, ensure that they are included and you are getting what you want. So it's like actually reading that fine print of the contract. It's always very, very helpful if you can, once you reach that stage, to basically every time you have a new contract, get a lawyer to have a look at it. But even if that's not possible, there are a lot of tools online now, and you can look at those things now.
It's so funny that you're telling the story because one of the clients I was working with, he would never read anything he signs ever. And in the beginning, I was like, how is it possible that you're not reading your contracts or the documents you're signing? And at some point I said, listen, you are not signing anything else before I read it. Not even a UPS store signature, which is like templates, not a office space, nothing. I have to read every single thing you're signing, because otherwise you're gonna sign away your life, sign away your house, sign away your whatever it is. You're gonna lose your shirt. Like how, and that's a perfect example from a consultant side, when we're not reading the fine print on our contracts, we might lose money by traveling to the location and not being paid.
Exactly. And to be honest, like no one should ever accept a contract where you are not being, you cannot reimburse your travel expenses where the client has called you. If you're doing traveling on your own without checking with the client, then yes, you are responsible for it. But if your client has asked you to meet you somewhere where you have to travel, uh, I would personally never recommend anyone that to take on a client where they are saying that, yes, we will ask you to travel, but we will not pay for it unless and until they include something like some clients do that they give you a travel stipend in your fee. So they will say that we will give you like $10,000 just include it as your travel budget in addition to your fee. So then it's up to you how you use it. But unless and until something like this, I will never recommend anyone to do that.
That's a good tip. So thank you so much for joining us, Sam. It was a great interview, a lot of pearls of wisdom that both business owners and consultants who are listening to us can learn a lot from. I appreciate your time, and I'll see you on the next one.
Thank you so much, Marina. It's my absolute pleasure to come to your podcast. I'm very honored.
Thank you, Sam. It was amazing. Bye.